Nation. It's been 138 days, but finally, Gator football is back in the swamp. I am Thad Bullard, a.k.a. WWE Global Ambassador Titus O'Neil. And whether you're cheering for the orange team or you're cheering for the blue team, we got a chance right now, live tonight, here in Gainesville, Florida, one of the most storied stadiums in all of college football. Ladies and gentlemen, on the SEC Network, we are live from the swamp. Welcome to the orange and blue game. And Billy Napier, welcome to the swamp.
How about that to get you started here tonight? Lauren Sisler's with us on the sidelines. What's happening, Lauren?
That, my friends, is how you get hyped up. Titus O'Neil with the hype man. You can't get more hyped up than that, and that's exactly what Billy Napier wanted for this spring game by moving it from Saturday to Thursday here on Easter weekend, and it is hype in here, and I'm so excited about it. I know you guys are too. Look, when you pop open the hood here in Florida, that's what Billy Napier wanted to focus on. Pop open the hood, pull everything apart, and analyze every single little detail to decide how you're going to create a championship culture. And it starts with the infrastructure, with the assistant coaches and also the support staff guys. He's got more than 49 individuals on his support staff. A few names and assignments here that you can see. And guys, there is no question his attention to detail is unrivaled. Chris, you've been around this program a long time. You've got some insight on this new infrastructure and the value that it can add and create to this program top to bottom.
Yeah, no doubt, Lauren. This is a commitment from the top down. Athletic Director Scott Strickland, the rest of the administration has opened up the checkbook and given Billy Napier what he needs to be successful, all of that personnel off the field.
What about this crazy start? Jaden Hill fumbles on the kickoff return, and Derek Lingo recovers it for the blue squad inside of the 30-yard line.
I think they're overruling that and giving the ball to the orange on the 30-yard line, it looks like. Here. Spring rules right here. You got a little bit of liberties that you're able to take.
6 seconds in, and here we go, right?
Making them up as we go.
Here's Jack Miller, who you talked about in the open, the Ohio State transfer, redshirt freshman out of Scottsdale, Arizona. You said it because of the injuries and the quarterback position. You got to have a capable backup.
Think about college football these days. Very rarely are you able to go wire to wire with one guy at the quarterback spot. Jack Miller not only brings depth, but he brings a little bit of competition for Anthony Richardson to push him every single day in practice.
DeMarcus Bowman is going to start in the backfield for the orange squad, and he gets a couple yards off to the left side as Jalen Kimber makes a tackle for the blue team. What about in the running back position? You've been watching this team throughout over the years. What have you seen here? What are you looking for better in 2022?
You know what's ironic, Mike, is they lose a lot of production with Dameon Pierce, Malik Davis. These guys put up big numbers last year, but yet the room still seems stacked at the running back spot. You saw DeMarcus Bowman, a 5-star transfer a couple years ago from Clemson. You got another 5-star transfer, Lorenzo Lingard from Miami. You get a transfer from Louisiana Lafayette as well, and Montrell Johnson. So there's a lot of talent here. That's not even considering Naquan Wright, who probably is the leader in that running back room, but out recovering from an injury at the end of last season.
Trying to go up top to Jaquavion Fraziers, the sophomore wide receiver. And here's a little bit about what you're talking about in the running game, what they've lost, what they got coming back here. And when you have a whole new staff, right, and everybody coming in with Billy Napier and his group, you know, things are going to change, and it's going to be different.
You know what? Usually a transition is hard, and a lot of times you see a mass exodus of players. But a lot of these guys have decided to stay around. They've decided to buy into what the coaching staff is preaching. I think that's a testament to not only Billy Napier, but the assistants and their willingness and ability to connect with these players.
That's Dejon Reynolds with a catch, the wide receiver, for a first down for the Orange as they have the opening possession of this game here tonight in the orange and blue game at the University of Florida. I thought it was great that Coach Napier, when he came in, a big thing that he wanted was the salary pool for his assistant coaches and the entire staff that he wanted to bring in for Florida football. That's admirable.
Mike, it was amazing yesterday in the production meetings, right? I've got my play sheet right here. Well, Billy Napier pulled out his own play sheet, a depth chart of 49 plus off-field assistants and support staff members. As you said, they've put the money forward to give Billy Napier everything he needs, and I thought the interesting part about that, was the research that he did and seeing what he thought he needed to make this program successful. Did a lot of studying during the pandemic, knowing he'd have an opportunity at a Power 5 school, and he's implemented all of that stuff that he learned with the hiring of all these guys early in his tenure here.
Yeah, that's what he talked about, is that he was putting that together prior to getting to this point. That's got to be something that excites Florida football fans, knowing that the hire that they made was a guy who was already putting himself in position for this kind of opportunity with all the personnel, all the people that they wanted. This wasn't just something that he just said, what should I do? He's been playing this for
Nothing
years.
is left to chance, right? That's just who he is. And I think the thing that may excite Florida fans the most, this guy doesn't play golf. He doesn't go on vacations. He doesn't have hobbies. What he loves is football, and he loves winning, and he puts everything he has into building his teams, which it showed the success that Louisiana had with their first Sun Belt Conference championship last year.
Bowman getting another carry for the Orange group here as he gets a first down run. Well, he could go on vacation. They're going to study abroad trip this summer to Greece in the middle of summer. How awesome is that going to be?
That's part of the commitment to creating well-rounded, not only athletes, but people here at the University of Florida. The Gator Made program is something we'll get into talking about a lot tonight, but their commitment to not only making them great football players, but creating financial literacy, exposing them to other cultures, giving them an opportunity to have some internships to get that business experience. It really is about the holistic approach to development here.
That's Frazier's on the catch on the sideline. That's a pickup of 16 yards. Nice reception.
And it's nice to see Jaquavian Frazier's making some plays. This was a guy that Coach Napier mentioned to us that he thought he could give them some of that much-needed depth that they need at the wide receiver position. They're very strong in the first three guys, but behind that, they're trying to figure out who those next couple guys are to build that much-needed receiver depth.
First down from the 25-yard line, opening drive of the game here tonight. And the pass knocked down, incomplete. As DeJuan Black got a hand on it there for the Blue squad. Let's take a look at some of the receivers and the group heading into 2022.
Yeah, Jaquavian Frazier is one of the guys that I mentioned there. But how about their starters? Xavier Henderson, Justin Shorter, Trent Whittemore, really strong there. And as I mentioned, looking to find that next guy. Khalil Jackson, the son of my former teammate Willie Jackson, brings some athleticism as well. So it'll be interesting to see not only who can stand out amongst this group, but Coach Napier mentioned they're going to be active in the transfer portal to add a little bit more depth at the wide receiver and tight end spots.
First flag of the game is down here tonight. Ken Williamson is our referee for the Orange and Blue game. Offsides on Blue.
That is a bad sign. Now, penalties has been something that's killed Florida the last couple of years. They were one of the worst in the country last season. It's been a focus during spring practice about not beating themselves. They had a great first scrimmage in terms of the number of penalties. Last Saturday, their second scrimmage of the spring was not quite as cleanly played. So today, one of the focal points on both sides of the ball was trying to play clean and not have those penalties that so many times in the past have shot themselves in the foot.
Handoff goes to Gabriel Ortiz as he gets down inside the 15-yard line. That's going to be good for a first down. And the Orange moving the football here with a 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line. Opening series of the game tonight. That's Ortiz, the freshman out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Got 3 players that'll be playing for both squads here tonight. We saw for the moment Montrell Johnson check in number 2, but he's out right now. And here's the pass to the end zone that's knocked down and incomplete. It was good play there as it went to Frazier's yet again.
Nice coverage on the outside by Jalen Kimber. Look at squeezing him to the sideline. Does a nice job to reacting to the eyes and the hands of the receiver, Jaquavian Frazier's. No room for Jack Miller to try to fit the football in there.
Kimber, the transfer out of Georgia, the cornerback position.
Yeah, Kimber missed the entire season last year. Was supposed to be a starter for the Georgia Bulldogs, but that injury kept him off the field. And how about Florida has 2 transfers from the University of Georgia in Cox and Kimber. Certainly that does not make the Georgia faithful happy.
Timeout Blue as we have the 11th play of the drive coming up after this timeout. Go back to the wide receivers for a quick sec. Yeah, that was your position. I'll get your thoughts on that more in a moment, because you talked about the transfers. So here's a look at it right now. Incoming transfers to Florida this year.
Yeah, I think you've seen a couple guys already tonight in action. Jalen Kimber, we just talked about his need to fill some of the holes in the secondary at the corner position. Jack Miller giving you some depth at the quarterback spot. But again, I think you'll probably see at least 3 or 4 more guys added after the spring as they really evaluate what they have in the spring and where they need to fill some holes.
So back to the receivers here, your former position when you played in the early to mid 90s. So what have you seen? What are you kind of looking for and what they got to get to kind of take a step up in that regard?
I've said it all night long, and it's kind of the theme here for Florida in general. It's just consistency. Consistency. You look at Justin Shorter, he's another 5-star guy, transferred from Penn State, but a guy that looks like he's NFL ready, has to be a little bit more consistent catching the football. And Coach Napier talked to us about that, trying to work on some of the non-traditional catches with him. Henderson brings you a lot of production early in his career, and then Whittemore in that slot position. So, again, you feel really good about your top 3, but after that, who's going to be that 4th, 5th, and 6th guy that you'll eventually need?
Just saw a carry from Montrell Johnson, number 2, in the running back position, transfer out of Louisiana. So a few guys coming over with Billy Napier as well. Yeah,
Johnson is said to have been, an immediate impact player this spring. A guy, I think it's interesting, Mike, as you look at the talent that he has and a couple of these other transfers from Louisiana coming out during the pandemic, maybe not being seen as much. A blessing certainly for the Florida fans to get a guy like Johnson that knows this offense, that knows these coaches largely that came over from Louisiana, and certainly has the skill to be able to play in the SEC. Yeah, Miller, it's always tough during the spring, right? Miller probably in a real game tucks the ball, falls forward for a couple yards there, a little hesitant, not knowing whether the whistle was going to be blown or not. But I think that's something I want to watch throughout the night is the protection for the quarterbacks. I was at a couple practices this spring. The protection not as solid as they need, and I really believe that upgrading the offensive and defensive lines, Mike, are a point of emphasis this offseason.
That was a 32-yard field goal. That was no good by Chris Howard, and it takes us to our first timeout. Back with more of the Orange and Blue game after this.
And we are back here in the swamp where things are getting hot, getting muggy, and we've got the ultimate hype man, y'all. The ultimate hype man is here with me, Titus O'Neil. We heard him at the beginning of the game, getting everyone hyped up. The WWE superstar, former defensive lineman here at Florida. Let me ask you, what does it take to be the ultimate hype man?
I mean, you definitely got to bring the energy every time, especially if you're in front of a crowd like the Gator Nation. As an entertainer, we learn all the time to try to put smiles on people's faces. You want to get a reaction, and so repetition does breed out a little bit more perfection, but you do get a little nervous coming home in front of the home crowd. They don't know what you're going to say. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I just felt good in the moment, and obviously knew we were going to be live on SEC Network tonight. First time ever here at the Swamp on a Thursday night. Very special night.
Hey, you did a great job. A+. You win the hearts over, obviously, with Coach Napier here. Tell me, what excites you most about this new coaching staff and what Coach Napier and his assistants bring to the table as they come in here for this 2022 season?
Yeah, the thing that excites me, or two things. Number one is it's just anytime you have a chance to have a fresh start, it's fun, it's exciting. But what he's done with his coaching staff and been able to, add more people to the puzzle that can help compete with the Alabamas, the Georgias, etc. I'm looking at on the sideline. I've been on the sideline here for the last 4 years or so. I see like 35 coaches on the Alabama sideline. I see 14 over here. Got to get out recruiting, which they're doing, and try to really bring back our former players, which he did an excellent job of right out of the gate. And so I'm excited about just seeing how all this starts to come together. We've got a brand new indoor football facility being open in a few months, and it's going to be special.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were talking about with the guys in the booth. Now, you get to come back here to the Swamp. Tell us, what do you love most about the Swamp, and what do you miss about playing here?
What I love the most about the Swamp is over 90,000 strong every Saturday. No matter who we're playing, if we're playing a high school football team down the road, we're going to have 90,000 fans here. And the thing I miss the most about playing here, obviously being able to play on national TV on a regular basis, but my teammates. So many teammates that sacrifice so much to set a Gator standard, win championships, and then go off and now to get a chance to come back and see a lot of them that are fathers like myself or business owners, athletes. It's just a very special time for the University of Florida and the football program, and excited that I had a chance to be a part of it years ago.
All right, that's Titus O'Neil giving us the flex up here with the hype man.
We're going to bring it.
Yeah,
Let's
go.
I don't know who Titus O'Neil is, but I know Thaddeus Bullard. That's my friend from Live Oak, Florida. Remembering his roots, he's a huge Gator fan, as you can tell. This is a guy that's an international superstar that remembers where he's from. You see him in not only Florida football games, Florida basketball. He's all around, and certainly a guy that is a philanthropist, knows how to give back, and just can't say enough about what he's been able to accomplish and the person that he is.
Yeah, that's great stuff right there. I wonder if he was in a battle with The Rock for the Super Bowl intro there. I thought his was great here tonight.
Yeah, he did a great job for sure.
Yeah. Good way to start this game here tonight. Here's Anthony Richardson now for the Blue Squad at quarterback, and he's had a couple of nice passes for completions here. We got a flag down, though.
It's going to be offside penalty. I love what Anthony Richardson did. He knew the defense was offsides. He continued with the play. They completed a pass, and you see him using a little up-tempo right now, which has that Orange defense on their heels.
Richardson impressive so far, 4 of 5 for 53 yards here as they work their way inside the red zone. Montrell Johnson is the running back. Richardson again, and on the slant, the catch is made. Jamarcus Weston in for the touchdown. $19-yard touchdown reception for the blue team.
Hey, I asked Billy Napier yesterday about Weston, a guy that certainly looks the part. He's big, he's long, he's strong, but just hasn't had the consistency that the coaching staff has wanted this spring. Much needed big play for the Blue offense, but even probably more so for himself. This is where confidence grows in young players. You come out here in the swamp during the spring, you make some plays, and it's a catapult into the spring where you take on a little bit bigger role.
Weston last year played in 9 games, had just 5 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. 7th in the receiving group in terms of stats. Let's go back to the TD.
Yeah, nice job getting the ball out of his hand quickly on the throw in the body of the receiver over the middle of the field. And again, Weston using that big body to bowl into the end zone for the first points of the night.
How about Richardson at the quarterback spot? 5 of 6 for 72 yards and a touchdown.
Mike, I love not only the accuracy, but the zip with which the ball comes out of his hands, right? It looks a little different. I'm sure if we're down there around it, it sounds a little bit different, but that's what he brings, that strong arm. But the accuracy right there has been elusive at times during his Florida career, but there, 5 of 6, I like the start.
And he's a dual threat. You got to keep him healthy, and he can be a problem for most teams.
Yeah, you're not going to see him use the legs certainly tonight very much, but that's where he made his first impact. When he debuted last year early in the season, you saw him making plays, being very difficult to bring down because of that size that we talked about and the athleticism, jumping guys, doing his backflips in the pregame, is a freakish type athlete.
Speaking of athleticism,
you don't want to get underneath that. I like the defender there standing back, not to get dunked on. And here's that lead. Here's the hurdle. I'd maybe like him to tone down the backflips, but nonetheless, you see the athleticism and more so the explosiveness that he has in those hamstrings.
good start for Blue as they went right down the field for the touchdown on their opening drive. Both offenses have really moved the ball. It was impressive by Orange earlier. I mean, they converted a couple of third downs. They ended up missing a 32-yard field goal. And now on the return, Finley Graham, Jr. It's up across the 30-yard line. It's a return of 28 yards for the second offensive series for Orange here tonight in the Orange and Blue game. At the University of Florida, Mike Corey, Chris Doring, Lauren Sisler on the sidelines. Beautiful night here tonight. Fans are back in attendance. You wonder what it feels like for this coaching staff and Coach Napier and really coming out here for the first time with the ambiance around them.
He's got to be excited. hear what he's got to say.
All right, Coach, we're out here in the swamp in a game-like atmosphere. Just take me through the emotions right now as you step foot out here and get to experience this really for the first time in front of this big crowd.
You know, I was talking to Anthony in pregame. I said, you know, that same urgency that you feel to perform right now, it's important that we take this experience, apply it to this summer, every meeting, every walkthrough, every practice opportunity that we have, so that the next time we can be ready to go.
And being ready to go in front of this crowd, you moved the game from Saturday to Thursday in hopes that you'd get more people here looking around. Did they meet your expectations?
Gator Nation is strong. I think we all understand that and know that, right? But tell you what, it's humbling. I know our players are thankful. Our entire organization is thankful. And got some good recruits in the building tonight, too.
All right, we can walk and talk if you want to keep your eye on the ball a little bit. I certainly don't want to take you away from the analysis here, but what are some key things you wanted to focus in on this team when you got here to campus to get these guys ready for this upcoming season?
Well, we got to eliminate the bad football. You know, we got to eliminate the undisciplined penalties. We got to take care of the ball. And it's important that we, you know, I think eliminate mental errors. And we got to play with sound technique. You always want to be a team that doesn't give the other team anything, right? We've taken great pride in that in the past, and certainly, you know, that's where you start when you're building a football team.
And consistency, a key word, especially on the offensive side of football with some of these receivers. Just take me through what you've seen from these guys this spring and trying to build up some of that depth on the depth chart in that position and some of the others.
Yeah, we've got some great guys to work with. You know, I think it's a room where we need some depth. We could add a few players there, but overall, been pleased with that first group. It's good to see us go and catch it a little bit in this type of setting. These guys are fantastic football players. They wouldn't be at the University of Florida if they weren't. You know, it's our job to get them to perform, to play to their potential, and that's why they call you a coach.
All right, Coach, we'll let you get out there and coach, and we'll get back with you in a few minutes. Thank you.
All right, Lauren, and thanks, Coach. Sounds good. I mean, the spring is so vitally important for every team, obviously, but even more so when a new staff comes in.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about figuring out who you have on your roster. Players are trying to figure out their coaches and the style of coaching and being able to build those relationships. And for a lot of guys, you know, there's nothing that's locked in, right? If you haven't performed to this point in time, you get a fresh start. If you have been a veteran starter, you got to prove it to a new set of guys. So everybody's competing. I think that's what you see tonight. You look around the country during spring games, I don't know if you'll see as much sense of urgency as you'll see here just because of everything they've done, including playing this game under the lights. I love the fact that they're here on Thursday night in the swamp with the type of attendance they have to simulate what's going to happen when they get to the fall.
Second offensive series here for the Orange tonight. Play fake. Pass is caught, nice tackle made. The catch is made by Keon Zipperer, the junior tight end on the reception. Jordan Young on the tackle for the blue team.
Nice to see Zipperer there. We talked a little bit earlier about the tight ends. It's kind of been a tough luck position during the spring so far. They've lost 3. One of those guys to permanent injury. The 2 others will be back, but trying to figure out who the playmakers are going to be at a position where you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel. They're going to move tight ends on the outside. They're going to try to create matchups. So figuring out how to find the right guys to fit that position in this offense that's such a vital part of what they do is important.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to ask you about, how you feel like the tight ends are going to fit into this offense. You know, fans always want to see that, you know, and how's that going to be in Coach Napier's program?
Yeah, it really has become kind of the matchup, the X factor in not only college football, but in the professional football as well. If you can find a guy that's athletic. Just a couple years ago, Kyle Pitts was the ultimate weapon when it came to mismatches, being able to line up as a receiver, put his hand on the ground. So if Florida can find people that are half as good as what Kyle Pitts was at the tight end position, they'll be in great shape.
Third leading rusher last year, DeMarcus Bowman, carries again for the Orange. Under a minute to go here in this first quarter. It's a running clock. At the end of the first half, under 4 minutes will be run the way a normal game would be with the clock, and the same thing at the end of the game, but running clock throughout the first and early part of the second quarter, all the third, and then early into the fourth until we get to 4 minutes left. 2nd and 7. Fake to Bowman, to the end zone, into triple coverage. It is intercepted. Donovan McMillan, the sophomore safety, picks it off for the blue team.
Yeah, the orange team made it down to the red zone on the first possession. They were not able to stick it in the end zone. This time it looked like Jack Miller may have got a little bit overconfident trying to fit it in there. 3 blue jerseys around his intended receiver. That's one you got to throw it away and come back and live to play another down.
Dejon Reynolds was the intended target, but he had no chance. Just blanketed there by the blue jerseys. And McMillan on the interception. You remember what it's like when you're in these type of games, what you kind of feel out there, what you're hoping to try to get out of it, how much stock the coaches and fans put into what they're seeing here tonight?
Mike, you know what stands out to me was my sophomore season. 93, the year I caught the pass against Kentucky and kind of started my career. It was the spring game earlier that year that allowed me to have the confidence and really, quite frankly, get the trust of the coaching staff. Coming in here, making plays in this game-type setting, gives the coaches an opportunity to watch the tape during the offseason and figure out who are those guys that we might be able to fill some holes with when we get to the fall.
Play fake, here's Richardson, and runs close to a first down. He's going to pick up 8 yards on the play, and that's kind of a going to see a little bit of that. Like I said, not a lot here tonight. Just trying to keep the quarterbacks and everyone healthy. That's the most important thing. You want to get out of this game unscathed, that's for sure. As we wind down the end of the first quarter here tonight. And 15 minutes in the books. The 2022 Orange and Blue game. We'll be back with the start of the second quarter from Gainesville after this. Welcome back to Gainesville, Florida. Start of the second quarter here tonight in the annual Orange and Blue game. Mike Corey, Chris Doran, and how about it, the Hall of Famer and national champion head coach of the Gators, Steve Spurrier. Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you guys tonight. Good crowd here, a lot of buzz. I like what Billy Napier's doing, and hopefully he's going to have some results this year.
What I like was the great food that we had last night at your restaurant. That was awesome. Good. Thank you for everything over there.
I'll tell you what, we were packed again tonight out there, so the restaurant's doing well, and hopefully the Gators will do as well as the restaurant. We'll be in good shape. Right,
yeah,
Chris?
What do you think, your first year in Florida, a couple different programs, what do you get out of the first spring practice and culmination here with a spring game like this?
Well, it brings back a lot of memories every time I watch a spring game, because my first one here was back in the 60s, and Coach let me play about the whole game, I think, and I threw for 214 yards. And the next day, the guy wrote in the paper, if this was a regular season game, that would have been a school record. So throwing for 200 yards was foreign back in those days. Yeah. Okay.
You had a trivia question for us last night at the restaurant. You blow the whistle, you get everybody's attention, you gave us a great speech, which we enjoyed, and then you also had a trivia question. I think that kind of plays pretty well into what we're seeing here tonight. What was it?
Oh, let's see. What was it the other night?
We were talking about your first spring game in Jacksonville, who the MVP was of that game, and ultimately where he went on to have success.
Yeah, Shane Matthews, my first year here. I don't think he'd been here for 2 years. I don't think he'd had a snap in the game. And so he got to play in the spring game in Jacksonville. We ripped out the AstroTurf, put natural grass in, so we played in the Gator Bowl. And Shane was 8 of 11, 3 touchdowns, and all of a sudden he became a guy that, he would lead us to 2 straight SEC championships, and he was SEC Player of the Year both years. So he came a long way from a guy sitting on the bench.
There's not many guys that know quarterbacks and quarterback play like you, Coach. You look at Anthony Richardson, what you've seen to him in his short career at Florida. What are the things that you like about what he brings to this offense and what he needs to improve on heading into next season?
Yeah, I tell you what, Chris, I think we all know Anthony Richardson is a talented player, and he can be big time for us. And hopefully he can stay very healthy this year. But, I mean, he can throw the ball, he can run, and hopefully we'll use him occasionally running, not dominantly, because he's an excellent passer. We need him to play. See that throw there?
Yeah.
He's a natural. He's a natural quarterback. Yeah.
Nice catch there by Justin Shorter, the junior wide receiver, as there's a look at Richardson. We're talking to Steve Spurrier here tonight, up in the booth, as the Blue Squad move down the field here and tack on another touchdown Johnson's in the backfield. He gets the call.
There it is.
Stays on his feet. How about Montrell Johnson?
Coach, as you look at Coach Napier, what he's been able to do so far in terms of the hiring of this large staff off the field and kind of the way that he runs practices, what stands out to you the most about what he brings in the style of not only coaching but the play offensively and defensively?
Well, first of all, Chris, I think he's brought an attitude that maybe we lacked a little bit the last year or so. And, you know, I've always believed assistant coaches are in charge of everybody they coach. And we didn't do a very good job last year. And the head coach is responsible for everything. And I think that's why we made a change here. But Billy will hold all of his guys accountable all the time. And I think attitude and effort will be something that the Gators will get back to doing very well in the future.
Second and goal here. Lorenzo Lingard is the running back. He has it, and it's going to be stuffed up at the goal line. Now that the second effort, no, they're going to blow it dead just inside the 1-yard line. What do you call here, Coach? What do you want on this play?
Is it, what, third down?
We're going 5 wides, Coach. Come on, let's spread it out.
No, I think they'll probably try to run it in. I think they believe they can run it in on this play. We'll see. I think they will.
Johnson has it, dives over, he's in. Touchdown, you got it. Montrell Johnson.
My favorite thing, we'd be on the 1-yard line. We'd take a little bit of a sack or a loss. Coach would send in the Tiger formation. We're going 5, spread it out from the 3-yard line, throwing touchdowns down in this part of the field. It was the best playing in his offense.
Well, no, that wasn't all the time, Chris. That was after we were ahead by 4 touchdowns. But
I was asking Chris last night about him when he played for you and, you know, your style and what it was like. And I'm sure as you've seen this game evolve like crazy, right? I mean, what goes through your mind with the way things are maybe done, the way you did it, and now here we are in 2022 and how much different it is?
Well, when I was fortunate enough to get here, you know, Chris was a walk-on wide receiver and caught 25 touchdowns, set the SEC record, held it for 25 years, and Devontae Smith, Alabama receiver, broke it a couple years ago. But we were scoring a lot of points in the 90s, and now people are starting to understand it's a scoring game. If you can throw the ball successfully, it's hard to stop. And sometimes those big defensive linemen, you can't block them. So you better be able to throw it up and down the field. If you can do that, you got a chance to win a whole bunch.
You know, everybody talks about the spread offense, but we were spreading it out long before everybody else was. Coming into this conference where it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust, all of a sudden, you know, you're putting up points in 90 and everybody's figuring out how they have to play with you. When Auburn and Georgia are having to throw the ball up and down the field, you certainly look at the impact you had not only in this conference but nationally. It has to make you proud to think about your contribution to the evolution of offensive football.
And what I like about Billy Napier, he's a quarterback coach, and I think he's going to be the play caller during the season. And I noticed our first 2 possessions, both teams threw the ball in the end zone one time. Should have had interference on the one down here, right, Chris? Guy got bumped. But he believes in throwing it in the end zone, and that's how he's thrown a lot of touchdowns. And we threw it in there a bunch.
Yeah.
That was a big reason.
I talk to you about you all the time, Coach. I've never seen anybody that has a feel for the game, play calling and knowing exactly what to call at the perfect time. Yeah. How difficult is it to develop a rhythm as a play caller? You mentioned Coach Napier being not only the head coach but a play caller. Is it difficult to figure out that and manage your duties as a head coach?
Well, I wasn't always a good play caller. I had my share of some lousy games. But I was a quarterback in high school, college, and when I became a coach, I coached quarterbacks, called the plays and all that. So it was just sort of natural for me to be a play caller and try to find the opening of the defense and get the quarterback to throw it in the opening.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said at one point in your career, Coach Graves allowed you to call the plays out there in the field?
Yeah, all the time. Every now and then they'd send one in. But
that was not a usual thing, right? At that day and age in college, having the quarterback calling plays?
I think a lot of places it was.
Really?
I know, pro football, John Brody, I think, called the plays out in San Francisco most of the time. Yeah, it was. Some did, some didn't, so forth.
Steve Spurrier is with us here on the broadcast tonight in the annual Orange and Blue game. And now I know this is big for Coach Napier. He's a big analytics guy. So I kind of want to get your take on that with all the percentages and the numbers these days. And you got guys on the sideline tracking stuff. And when you watched film, I mean, what was the stuff that you maybe did? And what do you think about all that now? Where sometimes you just go right to the book and you're like, yep, that's what we're doing. What's your feeling on that?
Well, I think all that analytics sometimes depends on who you're playing against. Okay, against some team, I know every now and then when I was coaching at Duke, we knew our defense would struggle stopping the other team, so we had to stay on the field. Here at Florida, we had such a good defense. We weren't going to go for it on our own 30, 35, because our defense could get the ball right back. So I think it depends on the team you got against the other team, and strengths, weaknesses, all that kind of stuff.
Coach, as you look at one of the big factors of what Coach Napier has to do, it's upgrading the talent. Over 300 recruits here tonight in attendance, the excitement under the lights. I mean, in this day and age, what does it take to get that talent that used to come to Florida, that's now going to Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama to decide to stay within the state?
Yeah, Chris, it's interesting that Florida, FSU, and Miami were three of the winningest programs in the nation in the 90s. And all three of us weren't even ranked last year for some reason in the top 25. So we gotta get in there recruiting with Georgia and Texas A&M, Alabama, and all those guys. But I think Billy will coach these guys up and really represent the Gators in a very good way.
He was telling us yesterday when we talked to him about, on average, 275 Division I players a year come out of the state of Florida. How crazy is that?
I think I read where 8 of the top 10 left the state this year, and that never used to happen. So hopefully we can get back all 3 of our schools up there.
What about with the new $85 million facility that's going to be ready this summer over here?
Well, that should help.
Yeah,
that should help. You know, we have lacked in facilities. There's no question about it. When I was here, it wasn't a big deal. Urban Meyer was here. It wasn't a big deal. And then all of a sudden, everybody else had indoors and this, that, and the others. And so we were a little bit behind on all that. But we should catch up with this new facility we got ready.
Coach, I was telling stories about when it rained and lightning, we'd have to either walk through in the parking garage or go in the Florida gym. These guys, much different situation these days.
Yeah, I tell you what, those rainy days we practice in the gym. Sometimes we played better that Saturday than other times. So I don't know how much it matters, to tell you the truth.
Montrell Johnson just carried, lost the ball at the end, was able to recover it back for the Orange squad. It's trying to move down the field to get some points here midway through this second quarter in the annual Orange and Blue game at the University of Florida. 2nd down and 5. Miller's off the mark on this pass. Coach Napier was telling us yesterday, Coach, just about how he's trying to create the best player development program in the country and how important that is, too. I know it's about getting some of those top players, but it's also developing those players I know you've had over the years that came in not necessarily like, this is going to be our guy, and he ends up being one of your guys.
Yeah, you don't know who your leaders are going to be until they get out there and start practicing and competing against each other. I mean, our success, leadership from the older guys. You know, it's hard for a young guy to come in there and start telling everybody what to do. But the seniors and the juniors, they teach the young guys what to do. And then when they get to be juniors and seniors, hopefully they'll teach the other young guys, and you just keep doing that.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting time of year. When you get done with spring, it becomes about those leaders, the guys, getting the guys together on their own, having an opportunity to work on the one-on-ones, the 7-on-7s together, and the summer workouts where those guys kind of develop a bond and see who's going to push each other when they're working out at 6:15 in the morning and pushing through some of those tough times.
4th down play call here as Miller goes over the middle. It's incomplete for Fraziers. And Blue's going to take over, and we're going to take a timeout. I want to thank Steve Spurrier joining us here tonight. All the best to you, and thanks again.
Yeah, good to be with you guys.
You too.
See you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Back with more of the Orange and Blue game from Florida after this. Some of the prominent programs and the new head coaches here. Billy Napier at Florida and company. Brian Kelly, of course, Mario Cristobal, and the list goes on there. What do you think, Chris?
Wow, it's amazing the movement this year of coaches around the big-time programs, getting big-time coaches, the splashes that were made. I thought it was interesting the dynamic that existed between LSU and Florida, both with coaching vacancies open early. The folks there in Baton Rouge not necessarily giving Billy Napier a ton of look right under their nose, and I have talked to some LSU fans that feel like maybe we may have missed out on something pretty good. So I think it'll be those two hires will be tied together going forward for a long time.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't think that it was like an under the radar type of thing. Like, we knew Napier was getting to that direction. I mean, he had done an amazing job in Louisiana and the conference title, as you said, last year. So it's not a surprise, but that's a good point that you bring up there. But it's Florida's game for sure, as Blue is back on offense with a 14-0 advantage. Whittemore on the catch. And how about this? Look at some of these former Alabama assistants on this staff. Look at that list.
Yeah, amazing. Talking about head coaches at Power 5 programs right there. Mario Cristobal returning to his alma mater. The success that Lane Kiffin has had at Ole Miss, taking that team to the Sugar Bowl last season. Kirby Smart, we know what he was able to accomplish, and Mel Tucker, an immediate impact up there in East Lansing.
There's Coach Napier.
And a couple basketball coaches around him, two new head coaches. Kelly Ray Finley, the new women's head coach, got the interim tag taken off of her, and Todd Golden showing up in Gainesville from San Francisco for his first season. A lot of excitement around both those programs.
No doubt about it. Finley on the women's side, Gators went 20-9 overall. She signed a 5-year contract, just did an amazing job, and the best finish that they've had since 2016, so that was great. And Golden, who's only 36 years old after guiding University of San Francisco to 24 wins in their first NCAA tournament bid since 1998 this past season. So that was great.
Todd Golden sat in with us at Pro Day at the broadcast a couple weeks ago. He looks like a player. I'm talking about, you said 36. Yeah. He looks like he's about 26 years old. Looks like he could be out there playing. I'm sure he's out there with some of the guys, but definitely a little bit of energy boost there. And for the women, Florida's women's basketball program has zero history of success. And to see what Kelly Ray Finley did last year in that interim role, taking over late in the offseason and losing one of their best players, created excitement that has never been around this women's program at the University of Florida.
What's going to create a lot of excitement, too, is that new facility that we were talking about. The $85 million flag is thrown on the play here as Richardson rolls out, because they're going to have all the athletic programs there kind of together. I know it's a predominantly football area, but I mean, that's 140,000 square feet of what this place has needed for a long, long time.
Yeah, pretty impressive what they've built there, the vision that they had, trying to put Florida on par with some of the other top athletic programs nationally. And you mentioned some of the areas that are open to all the athletes. They got the swimming pool out there, the hot tub, the half-court basketball.
Yeah.
So really a great place not only to develop players and develop the athletes, but also to give them a place to kind of have some downtime and decompress away from their sports.
Stay tuned. Coming up at the half, we'll show you some pictures of the renderings of what that building's going to look like here for the University of Florida, completing in about the summer, right before the start of the season. Said $85 million, and thanks to Bill Smith today, Assistant Athletic Director of Facilities, who's been here over 5 years, took us through on a tour of the new building earlier, and he said this is just going to be one of the top places in the country in terms of efficiency. I love the way that it's laid out. They got over 200 and 240 workers a day working on this thing to try to get it ready.
Yeah, really cool the way that they did a ton of research, going around to some of the top programs in the country. As you see, a nice throw down the seam there. That's our guy, Dante Zanders. We talked about him earlier, moving over from the defensive line because of some injuries at the tight end position. Look at Richardson doing a good job, knowing where he wanted to come back, looking the safety off to the other side of the field and then firing it in there. Again, Coach Napier talking about Zanders being a permanent move to the tight end spot and a guy that he feels will make it to camp in the NFL eventually.
Nice catch for 23 yards, right, Lauren? What's happening?
Yeah, guys, Coach Napier real high on Zanders. As you said, Chris, a permanent position switch, and he's really become one of the best guys at that position, one of the best players he's seen. He can run it, catch it, and no stiffness at all. That was the word that really flashed at me, the stiffness that he does not exude there. And Coach Napier has high hopes for him these next 2 years at that position. That's exactly where he wants him for the next 2 years.
Pass deflected at the line. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, I like the rhythm of the Blue offense. I think Anthony Richardson's doing a nice job of making decisive throws, knowing where he wants to go with the football. He's thrown with great accuracy so far tonight, 12 of 14 on the evening. But I think the use of tempo, slowing it down here in the red zone, has done a nice job again of keeping that Orange defense on their heels. And they look fatigued as they have their hands on their hips trying to catch a breath here as they get a little bit of a break as they've slowed it down a little bit.
Let's see what we got here with Johnson in the backfield. 3rd down and 7. He gets the call. Needs to get to the 5 or inside of it for the 1st down. Let's see if they give it to him. He should have it at the 3-yard line. 1st down as Blue continues to move it.
Coach Napier a little frustrated that they're not using that tempo a little bit more. He wants the offense to pick it up. He's not calling plays tonight. Letting some of his assistants do that, but signaling to the sideline, let's hurry this thing up a little bit. The tempo had been working. Why are we slowing down when that tempo has had so much success?
Johnson already has that 1-yard touchdown run that we saw just a little while ago. Now trying to get another one, and he has it. Well, let's see, they're going to blow it dead right before the goal line. He had stretched it over. Going to say his knee was down.
Let's take it to the review booth,
yeah,
Mike. I mean, we
now.
got the review crew here tonight.
Where's the review? All right, here we go. Oh, okay.
Call. I don't know. He's got a little arm stretch, but.
Well, we'll take it to a timeout, and we'll come back with 33 seconds left in the 1st half. Yeah, and Coach Napier is not going to be happy about it at all. That's the 5th pre-snap penalty tonight on both sides. So I'm sure, as he's saying here, I don't care what game we're playing, whether we're scrimmaging, practice, the spring game. That's exactly your point. You can't have it when you get ready for September.
And practice has kind of, they were really sharp in that first scrimmage. I think the second scrimmage left a lot to be desired. They were looking to clean things up, but tonight so far, the penalties, far too many of those pre-snap penalties, as you said.
2nd down rollout, you called it, and on the catch for the touchdown, Blue scores it. Noah Keeter, the tight end, on the reception.
That's what Richardson brings you, the ability to put pressure on a defense outside of the pocket. We know about his athleticism and speed. That time, Keeter wide open in the flat. Easy throw and catch for the Blue offense. And can't say enough about Richardson's start. 2 touchdown passes, only thrown 2 incompletions the entire night.
Excellent job of the sophomore quarterback and the tight end, the transfer out of UCLA, Keeter with a touchdown. And Blue tries to go up 21-0 here with just 29 seconds to play this 1st half. And that's the case. Kick is good by Adam Mahalik. All right, Chris, assessment here, what you've seen so far throughout this 1st half, almost done with the 1st frame. Kind of both sides.
Shoot, Blue offense, what do we all want to see here? We all came out to see what the quarterback situation was like, specifically Anthony Richardson. He has not disappointed tonight. Incredibly efficient. The offense is moving with rhythm. You've seen some new wide receivers and pass catchers in general step up and make some plays, and I think that's exactly what, you know, the offensive side of the ball was hoping to find out. As Billy Napier said yesterday, we need to develop pass catchers. We need to go out and get some more guys that we can depend on.
Coach Napier's got a plan. He's excited coming in here, and one of them, I think, is really a tribute to you as well as a former player and a great who was a walk-on here. And we all know the career that you had, went on to play in the NFL. He wants to have a walk-on program here, a 50-person walk-on program. He's asked for your help, right, to be a part of this and to help with what's going on.
You know, it was funny at the time, Mike, when I walked on, I kind of looked at it as a little bit of an embarrassment. I didn't necessarily feel like I was on the same level as all the other scholarship guys, but in hindsight, I look at it as a blessing in disguise, the lessons that I learned, the perseverance and believing in myself. And he talked about what walk-ons do in terms of providing much-needed practice, having the numbers out there, but also what they can bring in the locker room as it relates to being good teammates. And certainly you have your share of Florida success stories as walk-on. Lewis Oliver was a great walk-on. Judd Davis, another great walk-on here. Kerwin Bell, a tremendous quarterback back in the 80s as a walk-on. So there's a history of successful walk-ons here in the Swamp.
And I think you've had an opportunity too, and I'm sure you've talked to these players and teams in the past, and we'll do more of it as well, about what it means to work at something and to try to achieve greatness when it's not all given to you, right from the start. And in today's age, it's a little bit different, right? It kind of humbles you a little bit to do what you just did.
That's one of the coaches, I think, complaints about the transfer portal and immediate eligibility. Not necessarily having to work through those tough challenges that present themselves. I mean, I think college is about growing up and maturing in general, and if you can opt out, move on when things get tough, I think you do yourself a little bit of a disservice. So I'm hopeful and excited about all the players that have decided to stay around here, even though most of them weren't recruited by this coaching staff. They've bought in, and I think they really believe in the direction of the program under Billy Napier.
Well, the relationship aspect is huge. And when we talked to him yesterday, it's not just on the football field. I mean, you're a well-rounded coach. You do all these different things. Community service. He's got business weekends planned with these guys. Leadership conferences at Disney, he said they were going to. Social media summits, internships. And then also the ability to shadow alumni in their field, to learn from them and to kind of utilize that Florida Gator alumni network. And I know you're huge into that.
I'm proud of my diploma that hangs on the wall. This is a number 5 public university nationally. They've got a huge alumni base, an opportunity to plug in outside of what you do on the football field. And I think that's the biggest thing that I try to impart to players is, hey, take advantage of the connections. Take advantage of the opportunity that playing football at the University of Florida is going to give you with the people that you meet, and present yourself in a way that's going to allow you to take advantage of this great network of Gators across the country and throughout the world.
This is just the beginning here tonight with Coach Napier, who was hired back on November 28th. And here we are in the middle of April in the annual Orange and Blue game. We'll see our first look at what the Gators could potentially be like come this fall, and as you said, the portal and how things can continue to change. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and September.
Well, you have to embrace the change, whether you like it or not. And I think what Florida's done with the Gator Collective and the use of NIL, and I think it's only going to continue to become something that's a bigger and bigger thing in the top universities. But I think it's impressive what the folks have been able to do and utilize some of the rule changes that now exist in college football.
Coming up in the end of this first half here with Jack Miller, a quarterback who goes deep over the middle, and this is incomplete. Jordan Pouncey, the intended target that time. Miller comes off with a 4 seconds to go here in this first half. So here's your quarterback comparison as we talked about it from the start. And as you said, Richardson, only 2 incompletions, 13 of 15, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. And there's Miller, who just saw come off 10 of 18 for 104 and the pick.
The Richardson number that stands out to me the most is the 0 at the end there. He hasn't thrown any interceptions, right? And that was one of the things that killed Florida. That Georgia game, the meltdown right before halftime, a couple throws, including a pick 6 that ultimately cost the Gators any chance of being competitive in the second half. But Anthony Richardson certainly makes the big plays. You want to make sure that he makes the routine plays and eliminates the plays that are going to kill you, which so far tonight he's done.
That is the end of the first half. Richardson and the Blue squad put up 3 touchdowns in that first half. It's 21-0 Blue over the Orange. We're going to be back at halftime from Gainesville right after this. The awards named after former greats as yourself of what they've done for this program, and they handed out those awards at halftime here of the spring game. And I think that's just kind of a little bit of a boost, right? To see like, hey, here's where you've been at. This is what some of the stuff that you've accomplished. We could use this come this fall. And, if you're getting recognized now, that's a really good thing.
We've talked about attention to detail amongst Coach Napier and his assistant coaches. I think one of the things that he's focused on is doing the little things for the players, the acknowledgement that you saw amongst the awards, the housing, moving the players over across the street to one of the luxury apartments, the parking, giving them closer parking when they're having to come to practice and get treatment. And I think that attention to detail and commitment that they've shown the players and the care that they've shown them, again, largely most of them that on their roster they didn't recruit themselves, has really created a reciprocal relationship that players have responded to so far.
Let's hear more from Coach Napier, who's with Lauren.
All right, guys, as we kick off here the second half, Coach Napier, just give us an assessment so far, what you have learned so far about this football team through the first half.
Yeah, I think we're staying on schedule on offense, right? We probably need to create a few more negative plays on defense, pressure a little bit more, move the front. But overall, we've thrown and caught the ball really well. We've been efficient. We're not getting sacked. We're not getting tackles for loss, right? That's the way you want to play on offense. So overall, want to see some leadership from this defensive group here in the second half.
All right, so when you look at the offensive side of the football, obviously Richardson under center right now. What does he bring to the table in terms of his leadership and his skill set for this football team?
Well, the guy's 6'4", 236 pounds, right? And I think the other day he hit 21.5 miles an hour on the GPS. So it's a phenomenal athlete. It comes out of his hand really well. Short, intermediate, deep. He's got great touch. He's proved this spring to be an accurate passer. I've been impressed with how quickly he's picked it up. And, just sitting out here behind him tonight, he's played with poise, and the ball's going where it should go.
Yeah, 21 miles per hour. That's coming in hot right there.
No doubt.
Athletic, no doubt about it. Jack Miller, the other quarterback that we've seen on the other side of the football. What have you seen from him tonight so far that you like, and maybe some things that he can work on as well?
Yeah, the ball's going where it should go. He forced one in the red area. You like to see, you got to be calculated about your wrist there. Throw the ball away, let's play the next couple downs. But overall, the second group that he's playing with, that's where we need to really create some depth on our team. The main issue is you play quarterback, it's about the players around you. They got to play well. A lot of times the quarterback gets a lot of the credit and a lot of the blame, and oftentimes it's the players around them. If they're playing well, the quarterback typically plays well. So we need more consistency from that second group. I'm confident in him. He's moved our team throughout the entire spring. I'm glad he's on our team.
You talk about consistency, another word that you talked about a lot, depth, finding that depth at many positions. How is it that you really focus in on that? How do you build that depth from a coaching perspective?
Well, we've got a relatively inexperienced team, when you really look at the participation from the past, we've got a top-heavy team. We've got a lot of young players that haven't even played in many games at all. So, I think it's about practice. This is a developmental game. You make improvement in practice. So our job as a staff is to recreate practice in the recreate the game in practice. We had a heck of a spring. We'll do more this summer, more in training camp, and certainly during the season, a lot of these guys are going to play for the first time. So they'll improve as it becomes more real to them, right? So, these kids have worked really hard. I can't compliment them enough about the reception. They've embraced it. It's not easy, like what we asked them to do. So, I think that might have been our first and second punt of the day here. So it's good to see that Orange defense get a stop here. Now we got to go play backed up offense.
All right, we'll let you go, Coach, for a little bit. We'll catch up with you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, a timeout here. We will be back early third quarter of the Orange and Blue game from Gainesville. We talked a lot about Coach Napier, what his vision is, what he's trying to do. You can't do it alone. What about his staff? What do you think?
You know what? Just like everything else, he was meticulous and very detail-oriented in putting together the staff. Done a nice job of mixing in guys with great resumes as players, guys that are accomplished, young and up-and-coming assistants, and one of those guys that has been with Coach Napier for a number of years at Louisiana, comes over from Lafayette. His defensive coordinator, Patrick Toney, really impressed with what he does, his approach, the type of coach that he is, his ability to not only recruit well, but also get these guys in position to understand what they're supposed to do out there. Because he said really defense is less about what you do and more about how you do it. So they really simplified things this year as you see a blue turnover, but they've done a nice job of trying to get people in position to play fast, to play with great technique, and most importantly, play together.
It was Bowman on the carry. Tyreek Sapp came in, laid the hit, forced a fumble, and Blue recovers inside the red zone.
Yeah, Sapp, one of those guys that Patrick Toney talked a little bit about, has been impressive to spring at this point. They feel good about their outside edge guys between Justice Boone and Tyreek Sapp, some young guys that can provide some much-needed depth and snaps on that defensive line.
That was Jalen Lee that got that ball back after Sapp delivered the hit. So the redshirt freshman Sapp with the hit, forcing the fumble. Lee, the sophomore, both defensive linemen, picking up the ball for the Blue squad that has it at the 12-yard line and a 21-0 advantage.
Let's go back to the staff, though. Again, bringing a bunch of different type of people in. But I think the thing, as a former player myself, I always respected guys that did it at that level and did it at the level you're trying to get. Maybe one of the most important gets was Mike Peterson, my former teammate, a guy that had been coaching at South Carolina most recently, a 14-year career in the NFL. When he talks, you respect it because he did it here at Florida at a really high level. He did it, as I said, in the NFL for a long period of time. And I think the biggest impact that he's going to have this year, Mike, is on Brenton Cox, a guy that decided to come back for another season here. The development that he's shown, the commitment to one, raising his hand and saying, look, I can do better. There's things that I take responsibility for early in my career that I've improved upon, and his commitment to be a better defender against the run in addition to the great pass rush skill that he has.
Now Orange couldn't stop the run here as Anthony Richardson, quarterback, takes it in for the touchdown. 27-0 Blue. 4 minutes into the third quarter of action.
That's where Anthony Richardson you can do everything right defensively. You can cover in the secondary. You can get pass rush, but his athleticism and speed, if he gets a outside contain, he certainly puts a lot of pressure on the defense, as he did right there.
Hoping to be seeing a lot of that this year if you're a Florida Gator fan. Played at 8 games last year. 6 touchdown passes. Leading rusher on this team with 401 yards and 3 scores as well. Good run there for the score. And it's 28-0. Blues in front.
Yeah, nothing. Richardson, the Orange defense doesn't do a good job of containing, and Richardson takes advantage for the touchdown.
$28-0 lead for Blue here tonight. The Orange and Blue game at the University of Florida. 4 minutes gone by in this third quarter. Talked a lot about the offense here a little bit tonight. Let's kind of transition over to defense. We just saw a nice play by Tyreek Sapp, defensive lineman, for a big hit in which Jalen Lee recovered a fumble, gave him a short field, and Blue picked up another touchdown.
Yeah, that's successful football right there, when the defense gives you a turnover, sets your offense up for short field situations, and you're able to take advantage of them. But Florida's defense has not been the normal Gator defense that you typically know here. I love what they've done defensively. I talked about Mike Peterson. How about Corey Raymond coming over from LSU, what he brings in terms of experience in the secondary. There's a lot of debate about DBU, whether it's Florida, whether it's LSU. Well, we stole their DB coach, so I think that gives us a little bit of a leg up when it comes to DBU going forward. But I think you gotta find a way to rush the quarterback. This league is all about defensive and offensive line. It's a line of scrimmage league, as we've talked about more times than not. And how about the big body of number 21, Desmond Watson, up front? I thought Coach Napier did a great job of telling the story yesterday about Desmond Watson trying to change his body. He said the scale in the locker room only goes up to 440 pounds. So they kept weighing him. He kept being 440, even though he was losing weight and his body comp was changing. They celebrated when they got down to 239 because they knew he was headed in the right direction. And he has really done a nice job of conditioning his body this offseason to become a more effective player. He's difficult and anchor against the run with that big body, but they need to get him in better condition to be able to play more downs throughout the course of a game as you get into the fall going forward.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about him. We'll find him for you, 21 on the Orange squad that Chris is talking about, and more about the defense in just a little bit. But standing by with Lauren now, 2 new outstanding hires, the men's basketball coach in Todd Golden and the women's coach in Kelly Ray Finley.
Yeah, we got them down here, the honorary captains tonight. So learning a little bit on the field from Coach Napier. And so I'll start with Kelly Ray Finley here, women's basketball coach. You guys got to stand behind the line of scrimmage. What's it like being out here in the swamp, getting coached up, getting a little perspective from the new head coach, Coach Napier?
Oh, it's amazing. First of all, I don't think there's a better place than the swamp. You know, for football across the country, it's just an amazing atmosphere. And on a Thursday night, we have a great crowd here. So, but it's great to hear from Coach Napier, his thoughts, what goes through his head, what he's seeing, his formations and different play calls. So to be able to listen to him and kind of hear how what he's thinking, you know, as he coaches is awesome.
Snag a few tips from him. Now, for you, being in this swamp, obviously, as the new men's basketball coach, you take San Francisco to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 24 years. You make the transition here. What sold you on coming here to Gainesville?
You know what? It was an easy sell for me. This is a great place, like Kelly said, and I think this is a place where you can perennially compete for national championships, and that's something that I was looking to do in my next step, my next evolution as a coach. And as soon as Scott gave me this opportunity, it was an easy choice.
And when you look at the infrastructure here and what they're presenting to you all, obviously with the facilities and everything else, what excites you most about the basketball team and the potential that you guys have to be successful here?
Like I said, I just think it's a place you can win championships. It's an incredible academic school, the 5th best public university in the United States, a place that is used to and has won national championships in a short period of time. And this place expects you to win at a high level, and I think that pressure is a privilege.
All right, so what's on the agenda for you as you get out on the road recruiting, obviously getting ready for the next season?
You know, I think we're in pretty good shape. We'll add 1 or 2 more guys to the mix and try to build out the roster to the best of our ability. But as we get into the summer, we'll start working on team stuff, trying to bleed into the fall, where we'll really kind of drill down and get into practice.
All right, Coach Finley, so for you, what's on the agenda? You obviously got the interim title taken off, the head coaching title. 20-win season. What excites you most about looking ahead to this 2022-2023 season for your basketball team?
I just think the growth, you know, individual and collective growth of our student athletes and our program, just being able to take that next step and build on the successes that we had last year.
And just taking us through your roster, and as you've built on that, what are some key pieces that you feel you have coming back that can give you some of that success you saw from a season ago?
Oh my goodness, we have so much. We are so fortunate. I think we will return one of the more experienced rosters in the league, which is huge. But Jordan Merritt, you know, returning as a junior, her ability to score in a multitude of ways, to defend, her versatility is huge for us.
Lots of returning players, a returning coach, and both of you guys. So obviously the excitement I know is big here in Gainesville. Thank you so much, Kelly Ray Finley. Todd Golding, basketball season. It'll be here before we know it. But for now, we're going to focus a little bit on football. And hey, guys, I'll send it back up to you.
All right, Lauren, good stuff. Kelly Ray Finley, boy, I mean, 5 seasons, right, of like a non-winning season, and then you lose one of your best players in January. I mean,
it's not 5 seasons, Mike. It's the history of Florida basketball, women's basketball.
Sure.
They haven't had success, pockets here and there, but what Kelly Ray Finley did, you talked about it, losing their best player before the season started, getting the opportunity to be the head coach in an interim perspective there in the summertime, and getting everybody to buy in. It was really exciting. All Gator fans, I think, were excited to tune in and see how they were doing. Getting to 20 wins was unlikely, certainly improbable, but I think there's a contagiousness about the success they had that gives you optimism that they're going to continue to do that next year.
And on the men's side, Todd Golden and what he did at the University of San Francisco, they had an incredible season, and of course joking around, but he's going to be asked for his ID for like another 10 years.
I'm worried. I don't want him to go up on the east side with the students because I think he'd get lost up there. I'm not so sure they let him back on the sideline with as young as he looks.
36 years old, unbelievable. Looking forward to what Florida men's basketball can do this year. Wishing him all the best.
I'll say this, Mike. I think there is a continuity of success throughout athletic departments in the country. When you have success in one program, it bleeds over to another. And I love the way that these coaches help one another recruit. You know, if you have an opportunity to bring in a big basketball recruit on a football weekend, you know, you bring him in with Billy Napier. I think there's something to be said for athletic departments that help one another, that work together and create an overall successful program. You see that, you know, Arkansas has done a great job under Hunter Yurachek, and I know that's something that Scott Strickland is trying to develop here at Florida.
Agreed, and I love when I see players from teams at the other teams' events.
Yeah.
Like you have the entire football team over watching, you know, the soccer team, or the soccer team showing up at the football game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you're talking about, right? Where everybody's kind of invested. The new facility and the athletic training center, and for the student athletes, that's going to bring everybody together even more.
Yeah, and I think, you know, hope is a powerful force too, right? And I think you see a lot of hope. Scott Strickland, I don't know that he loves the opportunity to have to hire a new football coach and a new men's basketball coach in the same offseason, but that was what he was tasked with. I think he feels really confident about both of those guys, and I think from being around each of them, they're a great fit here. One of the most important things I think you have to do when you're at Florida is to be able to tap into the resources around the state. And I thought it was interesting as we talked to Billy Napier yesterday about how he's gone about recruiting, right? The concentric circles of recruiting. Within 4 hours of Gainesville, there's talent in Tampa. There's talent in Jacksonville. You get into South Georgia. You can get into parts of Alabama. Just a little further than that, you get into South Florida, where we know a lot of talent exists in the high school football ranks down there. And I think that locking down the state of Florida is the most important thing that Coach Napier and his staff can do moving forward to get Florida back to that national prominence.
That's important, and like you said, with some of those surrounding states as well. It starts here in Florida, but like you said, those other surrounding states, you said when Florida won it last, 66% of the players have come from like those 5 states in and around this area. So it's what you have to do.
And it starts with relationships, right? And Billy Napier has hit the ground running when it's talking about meeting high school coaches, getting out to the Gator booster clubs throughout the state, throughout the Southeast. And one of the interesting things that we talked a little bit about earlier, the walk-on program, the opportunity to get, you know, now with NIL, you can get money for walk-ons. You can get guys that may be offered scholarships to mid-major programs to come to a place like Florida because they had a family member that went here, because they're big Gator fans. And, you know, giving a scholarship from each of these Gator clubs throughout the Southeast to a walk-on can certainly help develop the talent at Florida and give you those numbers that he wants.
Yeah, what did he say about 415,000 members in the Gator clubs, and how you can utilize that network to help you recruit?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting everybody to pull in the right direction. And I think you have a clear voice at the top now with Billy Napier and what he's willing to do to go out and press the flesh and shake hands and get everybody excited about the program. One of the reasons we're here tonight on the Thursday evening in April is because he wanted the students to be here. It's Easter weekend. If they play on Saturday, a lot of those kids probably go home, but they did this specifically to create an excitement amongst the student body. You saw a bunch of people outside the stadium. It took us forever to get into the Swamp tonight because of the traffic and everybody trying to be a part of this debut of Billy Napier and his staff. But, you know, I think he understands the pulse of Florida football, the history of Florida football, and he's embraced the challenge of the success of Florida football in the past.
Richardson's back to work for the Blue Squad here. A couple of completions and a run, and there is Desmond Watson.
I was premature earlier in hyping Watson up, but I'm in all seriousness, I mean, this guy weighs over 400 pounds, but he's quick, he's agile, he can make plays in the middle, he's difficult to move. I think Coach Tony told us he'd never been around a bigger human being than what Desmond Watson is. And I think that 415 may be a bit generous. I'm not sure
it is
down that far now.
Not quite yet, but he's working on it.
In the right direction.
Yeah. Well, you said the story earlier, which was with the scale, when it was up to 440, that was as high as it would go.
I don't know that anybody's ever tested, you know, what the most is that the scale will go, but he was at 440 for a long period of time, despite shedding pounds and looking more svelte, and has broken into the 430s, trying to get him down in the 420s now. But just a cool story about commitment to being a better football player and being better conditioned to give more to his team going forward next year.
Yeah, just a sophomore, Plant City, Florida, went to Armwood. As you said, 6'5" and over 400 pounds. Boy, we're going to be talking about it, right, as the years progress. and to show what he's done to probably get himself more into the game shape that he wants to be in, and also, be a factor for this defense moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny watching the defense, and spring games are designed to let players play, right? You don't do too much offensively or defensively. You want to let guys just play hard, play fast, go out there and play mistake-free. And it's driving Patrick Toney crazy right now. I talked to him before the game. He's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, not being able to blitz or give certain looks. But it certainly is designed for offensive success. Except he brought a corner blitz right there. I don't know if that's legal under the orange and blue rules tonight, but he snuck one in real quick.
Jervion Dexter was in there, number 9.
Dexter's another guy that Napier talked an awful lot about, the type of body that he has, the athleticism that he has. Can we get the consistency to where we need him to be was one of the questions that he has. He's confident that he's going to make that stride this year. And this is a guy you're going to be seeing play in the NFL in the very near future just because of those gifts that he has of size and athleticism and the agile nature that he has.
Lauren, what do you think?
Yeah, co-defensive coordinator Sean Spencer says Dexter has not even come close to reaching his potential, which is kind of scary when you think about it. He's a sponge. He soaks up everything, he said, and he joked, he said he didn't even know when Dexter actually goes to class because he's always in the football office, he's always studying film, he's always trying to do what he can to make himself better and work on his craft. So, sounds like the sky's the limit for this kid and they have high expectations for him.
Blues gotta like this. 52-yard field goal connected by Adam Mahalik, the redshirt freshman kicker from Tampa, Florida. Count it. Haven't even really talked special teams here tonight, Chris.
What a weapon. Yeah, think about a couple years ago, Eddie Pinheiro, the Florida kicker. As soon as you got across midfield, you knew you were in scoring range. If you can start bringing those longer field goals as a way to complement your offense, I mean, it's a tremendous asset to have as a play caller to know you can be aggressive. And if you don't hit one of those plays, you're still within scoring range once you get into the other team's part of the field.
I mean, you heard Coach Spurrier earlier talk about, when he knew he had a unbelievable defense and how that changes things on how you need to play offense, right? I don't have to go for it here. I got this awesome defense. Hey, you got a punter. They averaged 44 yards a kick, last year with Jeremy Crenshaw. You got a kicker here now. We just saw hitting a 52-yard field goal. All that plays into it.
Yeah, I love complementary football. I love playing to your strengths. I love the ability to, if your offense turns the football over, the defense is going to go out there and get you a stop on a sudden change situation. So these are things, the continuity between the three different units that you're looking for. And there's a lot of good things that I've seen tonight so far that you go back and coaches will have an opportunity to look on the tape, coach from some of the mistakes, but also praise some of these guys for the good things that they've done.
Mistake here on the kickoff out of bounds. For the flag, of course.
Did I jinx them, Mike?
Yeah.
Hyping them up for their good things. Kicking the ball out of bounds is not ideal.
Hey, about the crowd tonight, right? We talked a little bit about that and just kind of getting the fans excited about it. We saw a lot of people walking around coming in here tonight. 35,000 is the announced attendance for the orange and blue game here from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium.
I think, having this game on a Thursday night, people complained about, not being able to get here from out of town. There was a little bit of pushback, but I'm excited with the turnout. I'm excited with the energy, and most importantly, I'm excited with the 300-plus recruits that are in the stands that got an opportunity to come out here and see Billy Napier and his staff debut their tenure here at the University of Florida.
And it's the first time we've had this game in 3 years now. 2019 was the last time.
So weird, isn't it, to think about spring games having that hiatus that we've all kind of experienced with changes to our life during the pandemic. But it's nice to see some normality. It's nice to see this game back. And maybe my favorite thing, Mike, it's nice to hear it called the Orange and Blue game.
Yes.
They try to get too creative in years past with the Orange and Blue debut and other things. But I grew up in Gainesville coming to the Orange and Blue game. So it's great tradition and nice to have that name back.
Back to it here tonight for sure as we wind down the third quarter of action. Minute 20 and ticking here. Jalen Kitna is in at quarterback now for the Orange squad here. Redshirt freshman from Tacoma, Washington, transfer out of Texas.
His dad knows a little something about playing the quarterback position too. John Kitna, the great quarterback for the Seahawks for a long time. A lot of pressure being the son of somebody that was that accomplished at the same position, but Kitna getting an opportunity to come down here and compete for that quarterback job going forward.
Redshirted last year, as you said it. John Kitna, and number 24 quarterback coming out of high school, according to ESPN. Final play of the third here. With Kitna going to the outside. Well, we'll get
no flag?
No flag.
I mean, what are we doing?
Trying to find Taylor Spirito, and it's incomplete and no flag down. And that's the end of the third quarter. We're back with a fourth after this. Back to the orange and blue game here tonight in Gainesville, Florida. Mike Corey, Chris Doring, and Lauren Sisler on the sidelines. Take a look at the recruiting class here. As we saw this earlier about in terms of the SEC ranking, but again, it's going to take some time. Napier and staff being hired at the end of November, and here we are middle of April, and I know this is only going to go up from here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? You're able to improve some of those recruiting numbers that Florida has been lagging in years past. Kamari Wilson, maybe the crown jewel of that recruiting class. Early enrollee, but has not been able to practice, not been available as much as the staff would have liked. And the number that you probably are going to see go up from here are those early enrollees. Only 3 guys from that class are taking part in spring. I imagine you'll see that number increase significantly, as opposed to a place like Georgia, I think had 19 early enrollees this spring. So it's a vital part of college football these days, getting freshmen acclimated and ready to play in their true freshman season.
Yeah, we were talking to co-defensive coordinator and coach of the defensive line, Sean Spencer, spent some time in the NFL as well, and he had sent one of his players, an early enrollee, was like, "Oh, can I go to the prom, coach? I got the prom coming up." I was like, "Oh yeah, no, you can go to the prom." There's Patrick Toney, the co-DC and safeties coach.
Yeah. How about that sacrifice, though, coming in, guys being asked to contribute as true freshmen, what they give up in their spring years of their senior seasons, and missing prom, missing baseball, missing the end of basketball. So it's definitely a sacrifice, but something that's become very real in college football these days, with freshmen having to play a bigger role as they do.
So the number 2 QB on the blue squad tonight, there he is, number 8, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, redshirt freshman out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's taking the snaps here for blue. So we're into the fourth quarter, 2nd down and 7. And playing for both sides tonight, Montrell Johnson.
Are you allowed to say that Florida has gotten their NIL money's worth tonight out of him, using him on both sides?
Yes.
Getting a ton of work this evening, but really has been one of the most impressive guys, not only at the running back spot this spring, but of any position, coming from Louisiana and making an immediate impact.
Been all blue here tonight, obviously, 31-0. Del Rio Wilson. Pressure coming in. Gonna blow it dead.
That's one of the things about spring scrimmages and games like this tonight. When one side does well, you wonder, well, all right, is that because the defensive line is good in the second and third string, or is it because the offensive line struggles there? Really can't ever figure that out quite as well until you get into the regular season, but an opportunity for some young guys to get some snaps here in the fourth quarter.
Now, what have we had, kind of a mix tonight with like 1s versus 1 and 2 versus, I mean, has it been equal like that from what you're seeing, or is it kind of a mix?
A little bit of a mix, but I'll say this, though. I think this is the most competitive spring game that I've seen in a long time. The closest look at what a real game might look like in terms of the way they've managed the clock, to the chagrin of our producer. I think that it certainly is a pretty good reprint of what the things will look like when these guys get into the fall.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not sure why teams don't try to run it like a regular game would be played. Like, why would you want to be like, hey, now stop, do it again, or no, let's kick it from the 30 instead of the 50. No, that's not how the real game is played, right? I mean, don't you do that in
something
practice?
That's happened in the recent future. I mean, back in the day at Florida, they went hard in terms of the game, and they went hard in terms of the reward for the game. Steak to the winners, pork and beans to the loser. That was a big deal over in Yon Hall back in the day.
How about that? Right, I mean, and listen, you don't want to get injured, right? But I'm sure back when you played, it was an all-out battle, and that kind of stuff happened.
You know, what you see in the spring is an opportunity for younger players to get a chance to play. My senior year, I didn't participate in many of the scrimmages. Coaches feel good about what they have in some of the veterans, but the unique difference about tonight is that this is a blank slate for everybody. This coaching staff is just getting to learn, both sides of the ball and the players and what they're able to contribute. So everybody's being asked to play hard, and everybody's definitely representing themselves on tape, and that tape is going to last throughout the offseason.
We try to get it out to Carlson Joseph, the redshirt freshman running back. Florida guy, Pompano Beach, American heritage. 3rd down and 10. Pressure again. And the ball that dead.
Coach Napier talked about it earlier. Quarterback's really only as good as those players around him right now. The offensive line for the blue team not giving Del Rio Wilson much time to throw the football.
Offensive line talk. Let's go there. Haven't really discussed it too much tonight from what you're seeing on both sides and where this group needs to be with the O-line.
The offensive line last year I thought was a bit of a liability. They improved their ability to run the football, but in terms of pass protection, I look at some of the best offensive lines in the country. I think they were more athletic than what this group was last year, a little more consistent in providing pass protection. So they've got their hands full, but I think they've brought in a couple young guys. They've brought in some players from Louisiana that can certainly help.
Gotta like what Adam Mahalik has done tonight. He just knocked out a 47-yarder to go along with a 52-yarder tonight.
All right, as the clock winds down here at the orange and blue game, I got Coach Napier just going through a little things here. Stand by one moment. He's got to do some logistical thinking here as we got 7 minutes and 32 seconds left on the clock. Coach, the clock winding down here in your very first orange and blue game. What have you learned about this football team that you're excited about that you can take into fall camp?
Well, I think we've got a good first group on both sides of the ball. We've got work to do. To develop some consistency with that second group. It's the same song, different dance, right? So, I think we had a couple of possessions there where we put everybody in the game. So, get back to playing here. We had a couple injuries at running back. So, overall, very pleased with tonight, man. I couldn't be more thankful for our fans to show up like this, our students to show up like this, move the game to Thursday night, and really great venue and an incredible energy and atmosphere.
You called on them and they answered. It's quite apparent. Obviously, a lot of fans still here left in the stadium as things wind down. Look, we've talked about this throughout the broadcast, the infrastructure that you brought in with the coaching staff, the support staff, and we saw your depth chart yesterday. You kind of rolled it out to us. We all wanted to take a picture, but we got to keep all the secrets. But you are very meticulous, attention to detail. How important was it for you to have that infrastructure in place and that support for your support staff to be able to come in and do what they've done so far and to carry this program to new heights?
Well, I think it's all about the players, first and foremost. I think, the number of people that you got to have well-defined roles, you got to have job descriptions. And really, it's about efficiency. It's about the detail that you can provide the players, right? The amount of information that you can get ready. I also think that it helps you manage attrition, right? So research would say 25, 30% of your organization, players and staff, turns over every year. So you've got enough layers to where you can manage that attrition, absorb some responsibilities. Maybe you promote from within. Maybe you go out and get some talented people. You bring them in, the people in the building, help get them up to speed. And then finally, I think it's about pace of the job, right? It's about quality of life. The way I always equate it to, hey, our talented people, the ones that are in leadership positions that have to always be on, if they can go home an hour earlier year-round because they can delegate, they can hand off a few things, and then ultimately you empower the people in your building to have ownership in their role, and they can be the difference, right? They can make an impact relative to our success. So it's about the people. I mean, it doesn't matter how many you got. It's about the quality of the people that you have. And then you got to define the roles for the people in the building and give them the opportunity to do their job.
You're building an Army. You defined a lot of roles. We had an opportunity earlier today to go over and check out the new practice facility and everything they're putting together, not only for the football team, but the student athletes as well. How important will having that for you guys and just the support around you be for this football team, obviously from a nutritional standpoint, a health standpoint, and keeping these guys in a place where they can continue to grow and continue to get better?
I mean, I think recruiting is about first impression. It's about commitment, right? I think this new facility that we're moving into is incredible. It's an $85 million complex. It's 142,000 square feet, and it's going to allow us to recruit. It's going to allow us to operate really efficient. Everything's under one roof. We couldn't be more thankful. The investment, the Hebner Center, it's going to be one of the best in the country, right? And we're thankful for that. And certainly this June when we move in with the players, it's going to bring a different level of energy. I think that no matter what you say, facilities scream commitment, and they make a great first impression. And we're going to be equipped to recruit with the best of them.
All right, Coach, before we let you go and wrap this thing up, you get your first game, your first orange and blue game, your first game in front of your fans here in the Swamp. How was it?
It was a special night, I think most importantly for the players, too, for them to see the support. They've worked extremely hard, man. We've been going at it here for a long time. To cap it off with a great night tonight, a lot of good tonight, right? And then certainly a lot of things that we could get better at. We're going to learn from this experience, not only the players but the staff for the first time to kind of go through a game day operation the last few days. It's going to benefit us for sure.
All right, thank you so much, Coach. We appreciate your insight throughout this game, and best of luck to you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks so much to Coach Napier tonight. Lauren, good stuff down there with him. Gracious. We enjoyed our conversation with him yesterday, and he's pretty dialed in. We're looking forward to see what's going to happen come this fall.
Yeah, no doubt. I think this team has an opportunity. Certainly it's going to be a challenge with the schedule that they face, opening up with Utah early in September and having to go right into the SEC schedule with Kentucky in week number 2. But I think one of the things we haven't talked enough tonight about defensively is the linebacker position. Getting a guy like Ventrell Miller back, the leadership that he brings, that team lost not only production when he got injured last year, but lost the locker room presence that Miller provides. So I think having him back is huge. But tonight, the linebackers, in addition to him, I thought DeJuan Black had a nice night, 2 sacks from that linebacker position. And then Mari Burney also had a big day with 10 tackles.
And he's the one that just got shaken up down there as well. So onto your linebacker talk, that's Burney, number 2, who's coming off the field.
Yeah, nice to see him get up. Certainly, you don't want anybody to get hurt in the spring game, and you definitely don't want one of your starters to get hurt in the fourth quarter of a spring game. So I love the competitive nature of the coaches getting the ones back out there a little bit more at the end after it got sloppy. But at the same time, preservation is also a large part of finishing this thing up tonight.
Previous sequence, nice job by Jalen Kimber, who had the interception off of the Jalen Kitna pass. So the blue team getting it back off the interception, their second tonight. So let's talk secondary and back end here a little bit before we conclude in this one. Safeties, corners, what you saw, what you're expecting this September.
A couple turnovers, they got the interception there, as you mentioned, but I think, that's been a big part of the defense that's been scrutinized the last couple of years. They have not been good enough in the secondary. They've given up too many deep balls. Some of that has to do with the lack of pass rush from your front four. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to have some young guys get an opportunity. And Patrick Toney, the defensive coordinator, talked about it. He relishes the opportunity to have young guys to be able to build their foundation, to focus on technique, to focus on teaching them the right things in alignment and leverage as it goes. So I do like some from what I've seen tonight. They've all competed, and that's the thing you look at the most. But there's some young athletes to be excited about. And getting Kamari Wilson back will be a big part of building that secondary.
All right, now let's finish up our thoughts on what we said about the offensive line. Offensive coordinator, offensive line coach Rob Sale, and what his job and he's going to be entrusted with doing this year as well.
I think they feel good about their first 7. I think they got to figure out building a little bit more depth after that. But the 2 transfers from Louisiana were big gets. Cameron Waits obviously is a giant of a man at 6'8", and then you look at Osiris Torrance is another guy from Louisiana that came over. Those guys both understand the system and have been big benefits for that offensive line room. And maybe one of the best things about the offensive line, the coaching situation, but they got 2 dedicated coaches to the offensive line. You talked about Chris Sale. They also have Coach O'Hara that will also, excuse me, I was talking about Darnell Stapleton. I'm sorry. Was thinking defensive line with Coach O'Hara there. But yeah, 2 dedicated coaches. Stapleton having played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, won a Super Bowl a couple years back in Tampa. Those are the kind of things that players look at. Guys that have been to where they want to go in the NFL and guys that have coached in the NFL level. And Florida's coaching staff certainly has a lot of those guys here that they've built a nice little mix of.
Under a minute to go here tonight. To wrap things up in the orange and blue game here from Florida. Anthony Richardson still in here for the blue team, who's had one heck of a night. They're going to blow this one dead. He's done a nice job, and that's where it's going to kind of start, with. And we talked about him from the beginning of the broadcast. He delivered here tonight. A couple of touchdown passes, ran one in himself from about 15 yards out. Dual threat, talking about number 15, the QB. He dominated things tonight for the blue squad as they're going to win it 34-0.
Yeah, some good things, as Coach Napier mentioned, some things to build on, some successes, and some things to go back and coach off of from the tape. But I think you accomplished everything that you wanted to tonight. Most importantly, you created some excitement around this program with this Thursday night primetime opportunity to get the students out and show the nation what this program's going to look like.
It was a fun night. Good work with you,
Enjoyed
Chris.
it, Mike. Thanks.
Enjoy this season
Appreciate
coming up. You got it. For Lauren Sisler, Chris Doering, Mike Corey, thanks for watching the orange and blue game here tonight from the University of Florida. Good night from Gainesville.